All right, welcome to this delayed points and miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. Can't apologize enough as far as not getting in for doing one last week and to have to postpone this one until today, but I do believe we have some good information that I'm hopeful will be helpful to you all. Don't hesitate to leave comments on this video if there was benefit that you were able to get from it, or there was something missing, because I obviously want to make this as beneficial to you as possible. So not going to waste any time. I'm going to get you right into what we're talking about today. So as far as let's start talking about the credit card offers that are going to be ending soon. And right now, American Express, we don't have a lot with them, except for the Delta SkyMiles credit cards, and we still have almost another month. We have the entire month of October to work with. So don't hesitate to take your time with this. I do have a video that I've done on these Delta credit cards. I'll make sure to put a link for that in the description, but that's what we have for American Express. Now, Bank of America, we're still talking about the Alaska credit cards, both the Ascent, the Atmos Summit, which is their premium card, as well as the business cards. We still have the 80,000 points on the Ascent Personal, the business version, which is at 80,000 points, and then the Summit at the 100,000 points. So we still have those. When it comes to Barclays, we still have the JetBlue cards. I doubt that they're going to be out there too much longer, but they are still available. We don't have a date yet of when those are likely to end, so we still have time to work with that. And then the next one that we'll be talking about is the Hawaiian Airlines MasterCard. That was one that we talked about probably a couple of weeks ago, of it getting bumped up to 80,000 points if you do the two-step process. So we still have that available. It'll be interesting to see how long that goes. We know we knew it was gonna go beyond October 1st when the Atmos program fully got implemented, but we don't know how long. So if you're looking to pick up 80,000 miles and the spend works for you, don't necessarily hold off too long on that. For Capital One, we still have the Venture One, Quicksilver, and Saver rewards with a really good welcome bonus for no annual fee credit cards. $100 travel credit plus $200 cash back for just $500 in purchases in the first 3 months. So if you're able to get one of those and it works for you, it is a really nice bonus to be able to pick up. Now, when we talk about Chase, we still are obviously dealing with the Sapphire credit cards. And obviously, these are Sapphire cards post American Express coming out with what they did. And for these, you can tell that the Sapphire Reserve is still trying to hope to catch up. I think American Express did some real damage to them, and they knew it was coming, which is why we saw the welcome bonus change a bit. Then we saw the edit program change a bit to try to make it as competitive as possible with the American Express card. I did a video on that. I'll make sure to pull a link for that because when it comes to that American Express Platinum card, if you are looking at premium cards, there's a lot of different bonuses in there, but the one, I will say this, one of the bonuses that credits that came with it was the Aura Ring, and I talk about that as far as what you really can get with it, but there's a tip for people that you may be able to use to get that essentially paid for with your flexible spending account. So make sure to check out that video for that. And then as far as Chase, we still have the IHG Premier credit cards, both personal and business, that are available. We don't have a date for those yet, so we still have time for that. And then as far as the Avios credit cards, Aer Lingus, Iberia, and British Airways, we have the 85,000 Avios version that you can get right on Chase's website for $5,000 in spend in the first 3 months. But then there is another website, no link, no promotional link for me, but 100,000 Avios for $7,500 spend in the first 6 months. So you really have to just determine how much spend you want to commit to this and if that additional 3 months is going to help you to make it worth your while. But you do have, excuse me, you have both options. And then as far as the Ink Business Cash and Ink Business Unlimited, if you deal with business cards at all, this is some of the best welcome bonuses you're going to get with these credit cards. and especially with no annual fee to get $900 cash back, or if you're coupling them with a Sapphire credit card or the Ink Business Preferred, I think it is, then you can convert those to points. If you're not a person that's been in the business credit card, if you even, and I will say this just real quick, even if you've had the idea of potentially having a side business, my first delve into this was me just having a thought of doing grant writing and was able to get these cards. It really just comes down to how good your credit is, where you fall at as far as you're in your credit card journey, because obviously with Chase, you got the 524 issue. But if you've thought about it or have one, these are just outstanding credit cards at no annual fee to have. Then we have the Chase United Club Business and United Business credit cards, both at 100,000 points, both with 2,000 PQPs for $5,000 in spend. Now that's going to run through November 5th. The United Business card will get you, is similar to the Explorer card, no annual fee for the first year for $150 annual fee afterwards. So that's what we're looking at for that. And then as far as Chase, let me touch on the Marriott Bonvoy cards first. Those are newer. For the Bonvoy Bold, that's the no annual fee card. It's up to 60,000 points with just $1,000 in spend in the first 3 months. And then the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless is 125,000 points plus one free night, which is up to 50,000 points for $3,000 in spend in the first 3 months. And those just came out there. So those will probably be out there for a little bit. Let me touch on the Southwest Rapid Rewards Performance Business Card. That is one of the newer ones. It's a $299 annual fee, 120,000 points for $10,000 in spend in the first 3 months. The key to this card, if you are going to look at getting it, is all about timing. And so what I'm saying as far as the timing is this. Right now, we are looking at the fact that this is going to be a card that is going to be available probably, I think the last date I saw was October 18th. If you can time this right, and if you got that $10,000 in spend, if you don't get the card until that October 15th period, if you need the full 3 months for the $10,000 spend, then you can take this all the way into the beginning of January. And with the combination of 120,000 points for the welcome bonus and the $10,000 in spend, even if you just count that at 1 point per dollar, that puts you at 130,000 points. You'll also get the 10,000 point boost because of it being in January. I think you could even get it once you have cleared the 3 months period with a welcome bonus, but you definitely will get it in January. Then you've now reached 140,000 points. And what that actually will mean for you is you have now triggered the companion pass. Because it requires 135,000 points. But if you don't time it right and you get this welcome bonus done here in November or December, saying now you're only going to get the companion pass for the final period of this year, 1 or 2 months, plus all of 2026. But if you do it right and do it where you finish this off at the beginning of 2026 in January, now you get all of 2026 and all of 2027. So 2 years worth of that companion pass. And I know many people know about it, but let me just touch on it. The companion pass allows you to bring a person with you on a travel for just the taxes and fees anywhere Southwest flies with no limitation as far as how many times. And you even can change that designated partner up to 3 times a year. So if you are a person that is a person that really flies Southwest a lot or considering it, this is a excuse me, this is an excellent opportunity if the numbers work for you to be able to look at doing that. So if you're looking at it, just make sure that you have the timing right on that. So I wanted to make sure to touch on that before we move any further with that. Now, as far as Citi, we still have the Strata Elite and the Strata. And I'll talk, there's a little bit to talk about as far as the Strata Elite, a problem that we talked about a couple of weeks ago that still is going on, that if hopefully you've not gotten into, but if you did, we'll talk about that. But we still have the Strata Elite, and the Advantage Platinum Select, where you're getting the $99 annual fee waived that first year and then $99 afterwards. So that's what we have for the credit card bonus. I want to definitely say howdy to Ian. Appreciate you stopping through on this pre-football Sunday. Good morning to you too, Tim. Appreciate you stopping through. And to you, Ryan, thanks again for your time. And Chad, Money Minutes, appreciate you stopping in, sir. I always make sure to talk about these great other content creators in this space. And you all have probably heard me say this before. Chad is so unique as far as the perspectives that he puts out, which are not the run-of-the-mill videos that many of us, including myself, put out. But he's been in the game for a long time. Really appreciate his insight. So definitely make sure to check him out. You'll definitely get a lot out of it. Now, as far as the transfer bonuses, normally we don't have a whole lot of transfer bonuses when we are about to cross over from one month to the other. The Citi ended up probably surprised me for sure, and probably surprised a lot of us by popping out with 3 transfer bonuses. One is for Avianca for 25%. That'll end, all of these end October 18th. 25% for Avianca. Avianca, as most of us know, is one of the more versatile points that you can be utilizing and related to Star Alliance. So you can think about United as this most simple one to look at. Virgin Atlantic is going to be 30%. And then you've got Turkish at 50% ending October 18th. Now, they do have another one, but this is not directly through Citi. And this is through Qatar. It's going to be up to 40%, and it's on a tier system. That one's going to end October 15th. So you'll get 20% up to 9,999 miles, 30% between 10,000, excuse me, and 49,999 miles, and then 40% for 50,000 and more. So I will definitely have the link for Qatar's website where it has that if you're interested. So those are the ones that kind of popped out and gave us something to talk about. Now, the transfer bonuses of Capital One is going to be ending shortly with Virgin Red. 30% ends on October 1st. And then Chase with Air France KLM is going to end on the 30th with 20%. None of these are necessarily groundbreaking, which is the normal theme of these transfer bonuses, but it is important to know if you are planning ahead. Like me, I'm normally planning things ahead for a year or more. So it's not to say that you won't see these again, but if you know you have a plan for something in our booking, this is such a excellent cherry on top, we'll call it, for being able to utilize your points for rewards. So now when we talk about the points and miles opportunities, I always let you all know there's a whole bunch of them, and I will load up as much as possible in the description. I pretty much use all 5,000 characters that are in there, but I will focus on, when these live streams, on the ones that are ending or just started so that you can be in the know as much as possible. So, excuse me. So as far as Avianca, you can buy points with an up to 155% bonus. This ends tomorrow. So you've got the 135% range up to 20,000 miles, 145% up to 50,000 miles, and then 51,000 miles and over will trigger 155%, which gets you to 1.29 cents per mile, which is competitive for the base number that you normally hear as far as what are their points worth. But as I always talk to you all about, it's always about how you utilize a redemption, not necessarily what somebody tells you it should be worth. And 155% sounds like an outstanding number, and it's good, but you will find throughout the entire year that Avianca does numbers that are anywhere from 135 to 155, and sometimes every now and again you'll find it more. So don't feel like you have to pull the trigger on this if you don't have a flight ready. So don't worry about that. Virgin Atlantic, you can buy points with an up to 70% bonus. That's going to end on October 12th. Choice Hotels ends tomorrow. This has a 45% discount. And while that may not sound necessarily like a whole lot. Historically, that is a very good number and probably one of the highest ones they've had in at least a year or two for choice. Now, it's all a matter of you utilizing those points. And I actually have a topic we'll talk about of choice points that may fit something for you, even if it's not travel related. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Wyndham, we've got a couple of things going on. You can buy their point with an up to 90% bonus. That's going to run through October 21st. And for the most part, I'm seeing and reading that 90 up to 90% bonus is still one of those, your mileage may vary as far as not everybody gets that straight away. So if you don't see it, it's not going to be overly surprising. So that'll be available. The Vacasa reservations, I want to point out that that is a recent change where you can't reserve those I'll call them apartments or bedrooms more than 6 months in advance. It used to be where you didn't have a limit. IHG, you can buy points with an up to 100% discount. That's going to run through October 11th. That one does look like, and IHG normally does a lot as far as making it your mileage may vary. This one appears to be one where everybody's able to get this 100% discount. It is strong if you're looking at IHG, but once again, not something that you have to necessarily pull the trigger on in advance. Wyndham also has earning up to 7, and this is a pretty good deal for Wyndham if you have lodging that you're looking at. You can earn 7,500 points when you just stay a minimum of 2 paid nights. Now, the cap is 30,000 points that you can earn through this promotion. Registration is required, and of course, I'll make sure to have a link for that in the description so that you can make sure to do that first. The beauty of this, it does run through January 16th of 2026. And if you're a Wyndham credit card holder, or even a debit card holder, you can earn an additional 7,500 points after your first 2 nights. So instead of 7,500 points, you'll get 15,000 points on that first stay, which will then bump up your cap from 30,000 to 37,500 points. So if you've got something that you're needing to look at in a long period of time through January, that may be something to pick up some extra points pretty easily. And then KLM Flying Blue, you can earn 10,000 miles for one economy flight, but it does have some restrictions you have to keep in mind. It needs to be, the flight has to be marketed and operated by Air France or KLM, which is not surprising, but it does need to go to an Air France or KLM destination, and at least one segment must be from the United States to CDG, which is Paris, or AMS, which is Amsterdam. You do have to book by October 7th, but you can fly all the way to March 31st of 2026. So there is plenty of time to be able to look at that if it fits. Now, if you are flying business or first, this does not qualify. So it does have to be that one economy flight. So you have to kind of factor in that if you're doing that and flying economy. Radisson Rewards is you can earn up to 7,000 points on a total of 3 stays. Once again, registration is required. You can book and stay at any property until November 18th. So it's a much shorter window. So if your first stay you'll get 500 points. Your second stay will be 3,000 points. And then your third stay would be 3,500 points, which is what gets us to that 7,000 points. But keep in mind, Radisson Rewards is not the same as Radisson Rewards Americas. So Radisson Rewards is mostly outside of the United States, while Radisson Rewards Americas is the North America. So that there'll be a landing page that I'll show you for that, where you can be able to look at all of the locations where you may be able to utilize that. Then we have IHG, which has triple points through 2025. Once again, registration's required. You can earn up to 70,000 points, which is a pretty good number. You'll get, after your first stay, you'll get 2x on your points on the second stay and then 3x on your third stay and every other stay that you have through 2025. Now, the points are not against your bonus points that you may get, especially if you have a credit card. It is just on the base points. So it's not as great as we would like, but if you already were planning on going to an IHG lodging, it is still very good. And then as far as a few quick notes to be able to hit you with, make sure to say, they appreciate you stopping in, Tim. Yeah, pre-gaming. Yeah, it's an interesting thing of trying to squeeze this in before everybody jumps on the NFL. So definitely appreciate it. Pre-football game started at 9:30 a.m. today. What's next for you in terms of travel? Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't think about sometimes I get too fixated on the United States of what's going on and where in more continental. So I apologize for that. That's a very good point, Ian. As far as terms of travel, right now I've got my travel in February. I'm to go to Taipei, Taiwan, going there for the Lunar New Year in February. So I'll be there for a week. And then I've never been to Vancouver, and I'm flying out of Vancouver on China Airlines. So I'm going to stay, my wife and I are going to stay in Vancouver when we come back for about 3 days to see what the city's like. So that is the spring. And then probably the last major vacation I'll take for about a year or two, maybe a year, I think, is looking at going to one of the all-inclusive Hyatt resorts. I've been to Hyatt Zilara in Cap Cana in the Dominican, which was outstanding. But the problem with them is I did that about 2 years ago. The points have shot through the roof on that stay unless you're in off-peak. So that one's gets up to nearly 80,000 plus, I'm sorry, 58, 60, over 58,000 points plus, and it gets higher during the Christmas season or the winter season. So I don't, we'll look at that. But there are the Impressions in Mexico, Impressions Moshe is the one I'm looking at for maybe the winter next year. Just started looking at that, very highly reviewed from what I've seen. So that's kind of what's on my plate. So appreciate you asking and the education about me as far as the pregame on the football. So let me finish on, move to the quick notes. Obviously, the quick notes are just some quick items I want to make sure to bring to your attention. The United Starlink, as of October 15th, we know that they are basically getting this onto all of their planes. They basically were focusing on the regional airplanes first, and but the 737-800s have recently received approval from the FAA to deploy the fleet. So October 15th is going to be the first flight with United Starlink on that particular airplane, and it's going to be flying out of Newark on the 15th. Now, as far as the United Express planes, which are obviously the regional ones, that they are halfway through the process. The beauty of all this, though, is as long as you're just a United Mileage Plan member, doesn't matter what tier, you will be able to use the Starlink at no cost, which is really good to hear. The next one will be Holiday Inn Express, and I must ask the question of you, how do you really want to wake up with your alarm clock with the smell of coffee or even bacon? That's something to think about, and let me know in the chat and in the comment, is that how you want to wake up? But beginning October 25th, these clocks are going to be available for a limited time in Australia, New Zealand, and for those, you'll have coffee, bacon, and blueberry muffin smells. Japan will have a smell of a pear, and then select locations in Thailand and Singapore will have mango. Just something to throw out there for you. The next item is, what about the worst lavatory ratio airplane? It is apparently the 200-seat A321 XLR configuration by Qantas. Now, most of us know about the A321 Neos that are the narrow body planes that I've definitely taken a few of those. But the XLR is basically just for extra long range. That's all it is. But this configuration for 200 seats is 20 business seats and 180 economy seats. there are going to be 3 lavatories. Now you would say, okay, well, one for every 67 passengers. No, because remember, one of those lavatories is supposed to be just for the business class of that 20. So those 2 remaining lavatories are supposed to accommodate 180 passengers. And remember, this is a long range flight. We're not talking about a short flight. They knew, Qantas ended up realizing that they screwed this up. And so they are actually going to be retrofitting the planes that they have. I don't think they have a whole bunch of them. And then they're going to change the specs on the ones going forward. I believe it's going to be down to 180 seats or just a little bit more than that. And they're going to take out a row to be able to put another lavatory in. So, but if you are flying on Qantas and you're on one of those A321 XLRs, make sure that you're checking for it because it may not be your best flight that you've ever had. So keep that one in mind to look at. Cathay Pacific, they're bringing back the Seattle route. And starting March 30th of 2026, Cathay Pacific will fly nonstop from Seattle to Hong Kong. Now, it was a very, very short period of time where Cathay Pacific had started to do that flight back in 2019. But then, of course, COVID happened and that ended immediately. Now, American Airline points and Atmos points are ones that can work really well with doing that flight. Starting at about 70,000 points one way, you can use your American Airline points or Atmos points. And I say those not because you can't use Cathay Pacific points, but most people don't end up having Cathay Pacific a whole bunch unless you're already flying to Hong Kong a good amount. You can transfer points from Amex, Bilt, Capital One, and Chase also as options, but keep that one in mind. Now, as far as Citi, we talked a couple weeks ago about specifically these Citi Strata Elite applications where people got the card and then were getting income verification requests. And that was from Doctor of Credit, but we've got even more information from Doctor of Credit as well as Reddit. This is still continuing. And what people were thinking was it was originally when it was the 100,000 point offer, but we're seeing data points that are beyond that. And it's pretty, I won't say widespread, but it's not just local situations. But what people are getting is some are getting automatic 1 month extensions because this income verification during your welcome bonus period of this 3 months, they're losing that time while they're trying to get through the income verification process. So we've seen that some are getting that automatic 1 month extension given by Citi. Now, not everybody's getting it though. So if you are a person that's had to go through this income verification process and lost time, you might want to consider making that a request through Citi to get an extension on your welcome bonus period. Unfortunate that this is going on. But I have not heard as far as what kind of percentages we're hearing as far as people not meeting their income verifications. Let me know in the chat in the comments. Have you seen this be this widespread or talked about versus the limited times that we might see it through Barclays or American Express kind of comes to mind. So I'm curious of your thoughts on that. JSX, they have a double down, triple up promotion. JSX is the plane where it goes to certain locations. It's not all over the country of the United States, where you can almost kind of jump on for those different routes. It's supposed to be kind of a tier above first class, but give or take. You can earn 2x or 3x on their weekday flights. There is no promo code required, but you do have to book by October 1st and travel by November 19th. And the 2x is applying to Mondays and Thursdays. And I put 3x for Tuesdays and Thursdays. I believe it's actually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'll make sure to have a link for this in the description, though. It does show on their front page. If you have United, I believe when they did their refresh, they kind of threw in a little bit of dollar credit for JSX. So if you're using that United card and you are using JSX and on the weekdays, This might be something to kind of help you earn some more points that are going on with it. And then we have RetailMeNot. Now, if you're not aware of this, normally RetailMeNot, at least my experience with looking at it, has been for different coupon codes, normally for different retailers, but it's normally been pretty widespread. Well, specifically on September 30th, I guess each Thursday over the last month, they have kind of done focuses for their Thursday kind of special promotions. But on September 30th, what they're going to do is they're going to have cashback savings that are specific to travel and travel adjacent retailers. This is only through the app though, not their website. A couple of things that we've seen that they're reflecting they're going to have is 10% cash back on Expedia, as well as Booking.com and Away.com. And then I found this interesting as far as 20% for CVS on trial and travel size items. I don't know about you. I've definitely been somebody that's gone to the drugstore to pick up those travel size and trial size related items. So you could look at doing that, but you might be able to even add on another layer of savings if you have their CVS card. Not just their credit card. I think there's a credit card, but they also have one that I don't really use where it's no cost involved. It's just almost kind of a promotional card for you to be able to get extra percentages on especially their brand. And that might be something to look at. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. And then Fiji Airways, they are no longer going to do amenity kits in business class. Now, this is part of their cost-cutting measure, and they are basing this, interestingly enough, upon how many kits are left on the plane. Now, that sounds bad, obviously. I don't know about you all. I haven't done a lot of travel outside of the country, so I've actually enjoyed getting those amenity kits a couple of times. But if you do like those amenities, you still can get them. What's going to happen is flight attendants can come and bring you on trays disassembled kits for you. They just are not going to have the packaging that we're also used to. So I think that is interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if there's a lot of pushback from people that really liked collecting those bags and all. So we'll have to kind of see how that ends up going. So let's move on to some of the topics. And I told you all about the fact of Choice Hotel points that we've talked about Choice as far as for NASCAR, because they are a sponsor of a couple of race teams on NASCAR. But they are now getting into experiences with college football, which I think is interesting. But the devil is going to be in some of the details with this. So right now, there are currently 3 racing experiences that you can go to on their dedicated website for their experiences. I'll have a link in the description so that you have that as an easy place to go to. So the first one is their race on October 12th in Vegas. The VIP package essentially for all of these include 2 VIP passes, tour of the track house, team transporter, and the pit road, meet and greet with the pit crew and drivers, and pre-race hospitality. As you can imagine, depending upon how popular the race is going to determine the points. So for Las Vegas, it's 80,000 points is what it's currently at, and this is through bidding. But most of these have 2 experiences per race. Talladega, October 9th to 19th, is starting at 50,000 points. And then Martinsdale is currently at 70,000 points. The college football was one I was not aware of. So their package for college football is 2 VIP passes, 2 pregame hospitality passes, 2 pregame sideline passes, and a $50 gift card to the team store. Right now, and this is not exhaustive, they've got probably about 10 to 15, but I just wanted to bring you a couple of examples. Ohio State, which is dear to my heart, versus Wisconsin at Wisconsin is 60,000 points, but doesn't have any bids yet. Alabama versus South Carolina in the SEC, 150,000 points with 1 bid. Auburn versus Arkansas, Ole Miss versus Oklahoma, both are at 80,000 points with no bids yet. Don't get too twisted about that. I expect that there'll be some that'll come in, especially the Oklahoma game and Ole Miss. They are very, relatively highly ranked right now. Auburn and Arkansas, not so much. Kansas State and Kansas, 80,000 points, no bids yet. And then Penn State versus Ohio State has 8 bids at 150,000 points. The devil in the details part, we don't know where the seats are. And I can tell you, as a person that has gone to Ohio State games, it is the way it's structured. It may not be the greatest of seats. You might be in south stands or such. So if you just want to get to the game and have an experience, especially the sideline and the hospitality passes, this can be a very good one. Just don't rely on these packages giving you like great seats, 50-yard line, 30-yard line, or even in the first bowl or first tier. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at this. But we've seen these experiences being utilized by so many hotels, as well as the credit card issuers right now. So they're definitely getting a lot of mileage out of this, getting their points utilized with their sponsorships that they have of these different relationships. So that's what we have for them as of right now. And then let's talk about Project Fox for Lufthansa. Now, Project Fox, well, let's start with this. So next year is going to be Lufthansa's 100-year anniversary. And we've obviously seen a hard product rollout with Allegris, with business and first class. And that, I think some people have kind of wondered how good it really is since we first saw it. It's not something that's high on my list of something I really have to fly in, but I'm curious of you all's thoughts. Now, as far as Project Fox, Fox stands for Future Onboard Experience, and this is supposed to represent the soft product now of how they're going to interact with us as travelers. This is a 70 million euro investment, and it's supposed to start in spring of 2026, but we don't really have a lot of information yet on it. It's supposed to have a bit of a focus, although not solely, on the long haul experience. So just the few things that we know right now is that economy and premium economy flights for that long haul is going to increase their choice of meals from 2 to 3. Business class is going to give flexibility on that second meal whenever you want it, which is a nice touch. But the higher focus is going to be on higher quality amenities, which we don't know the details on, more Lufthansa signature dishes, and new tableware for all 4 classes. So just wanted to kind of put this in your ear for this, especially if you're looking at Lufthansa for a flight that's long haul in the near future. Just kind of keep your eye on to see if you might get a better experience than you originally had planned. Then let's move to this Avianca award sale. And I was actually caught off guard because this Avianca award sale can have you fly one way for as low as 2,000 miles. And when you're flying someplace for 2,000 miles, you don't necessarily have to have the best of everything. So these, for these flights, normally when we see these sales, we have a designated percentage that we normally see, 20, 25, 30%. That's not going to be the case on this sale, but it does appear to be, according to Frequent Miler, that it covers most, if not all, of the Avianca routes from the United States. So economy flights from the United States to Central America and South America start at 2,000 miles, while business is at 12,000 miles. Now, the booking does need to be completed by the 29th, so we're right up against it. But this does qualify for travel through December 15th. Now, the only real downside, which I don't know if it's that big of a downside, is you're not going to have stopovers that are allowed as part of these mile award flights. You do still get the maximum of the 8 tickets per account, which is what I think I've normally seen. But here's the lowest that I ended up seeing on the economy and the business. So Miami to Colombia, there was one that I saw that was as low as 1,910 miles. That is really impressive. Miami to Honduras, it can be as low as 12,350 miles. So if you are a person that is looking at getting down to Central America or South America by December 15th, you may want to consider looking at Avianca as whether it's economy or business, but it should definitely be part of your equation of looking at if one of those might end up working for you. So I wanted to get that to you, of course. Then let's move to Alaska Air. And obviously, lounges are always a hot topic. And Alaska is really laying us out of what they are planning to do. And it does sound like it's some really good improvements. Unfortunately, the only downside for me being living in the Midwest is this is all still West Coast essential activity, but it's still good to hear about. So if you're not aware of the Alaska lounges, there are currently 9 of them in 6 airports, which is Anchorage, LAX, JFK, Portland, San Francisco, and Seattle. They've got 3 lounges that are set to open. We still do have to wait till 2027 and 2028, but want to make sure you're aware of it. So the first one is Honolulu. They're going to have a Hawaiian Premium Lounge to open in late 2027, and it's going to be at the entrance of the Mauka Concourse. It is going to be 5 times larger than the current lounge, and so that'll make it about 15,000 square feet. We don't have any more specifics on that other than that location and size, so that's at least a good place to start. San Diego, which is continuing to grow, is going to have an Alaska lounge there in 2028, with construction starting in 2027. It is expected to be the largest at the airport at measuring 13,000 square feet. And this is really because Alaska is going to be servicing 45 destinations from that airport alone. So they need to end up having something to be able to accommodate that much travel. Then, of course, Seattle, which we've constantly have heard about, that they have made that the hub, especially for their long distance flights. They're going to have a flagship Alaska lounge to open in 2027. Now, they are already planning having 12 long haul routes out of there by 2030, so it makes perfect sense. But we do have questions. 1, is it going to replace the existing lounge? And 2, are the access guidelines going to be different for it, similar to a flagship lounge from American Airlines or a Delta One for Delta? We don't necessarily know. And the reason that this thought kind of comes up is because they are already slated to do a 20,000 square foot lounge in Concourse C, but that is not going to be convenient for long haul flights that are scheduled for a different concourse. So kind of keep your eyes open and we'll see what ends up happening with it. Let's touch on October Bilt Rent Day, which is right around the corner. And just to be able to bring out a couple of items for all of you all. Of course, if you've been involved with Bilt Rewards or their Bilt credit card, you already know that the rent day on the first of each month is when they double the multipliers. 3x going to 6x on the dining, 2x going to 4x on the travel, 2x on everything else except for the rent, which is normally 1x. You do still need to have that 5 transaction minimum. And that's why I constantly remind people to utilize that rent day, even at 2x for most things, especially if you're paying insurance, if your car insurance or your utilities. You're probably, unless you're really playing in advanced mode, 2x is the easiest thing to be able to utilize to pay those bills, especially if you're dealing with points. And this is an excellent opportunity to get those out of the way, get the 5 transactions in. You will also earn up to 1,000 bonus points. So the rent-free game show that they have, and this is their Family Feud style, which we've talked about before, is going to have Leslie Jones. And if you watch Saturday Night Live, she's an actress as well, but most people know her from Saturday Night Live, no longer on the show. She's a comedian actress. She's promoting her Leslie Jones live tour. So she's going to be on there. You do need to play by 3 p.m. on October 1st. And then the top 10 players will be revealed as of 4 p.m. and they will all be rent winners up to $2,500. The next 100 winners will get 1,000 points, and then the next 500 members will get 100 points. It's a fun game to play. Clearly, I've not won any of it, but it's worth talking about. The complimentary fitness add-ons, I've talked about this each month as far as just being aware of by being a Bilt Rewards member, there are, and if you're into your fitness, there's a lot of places that are going to get you a multiple on your Bilt points. And I've got the list of these right here. These really don't change, but they're just not promoted. So keep that in mind as one to look at. And then as far as the hit fitness through berries, you end up looking at it, they have 500 slots that are normally available, 10 per location. Charleston is a new location right now that they have for that. And these are ones that you schedule on your app. Soul Cycle, which is one that's been around for a while, 700 slots available nationwide, but they're not broken out where everybody gets 10 slots per class. So something to look at as far as the location. I'm sorry, not class. And then as far as the neighborhood dining, there's 28 options, but they really have tightened up. They really have done these in more cities. But right now, what it tells me as far as the neighborhood dining, they're not getting as many restaurants that are joining this, at least as far as different cities. We are only now in Arlington, Virginia, Belmont, California, Dallas, Miami, New York, and DC. The booking closes on September 30th, and you can do up to 4 seats per reservation. They normally do go pretty quick for these places, but something to look at. The Bilt Neighborhood Cafe, they always have a promotion for each day, each rent day. This one is Scarpetta's, which is a very, I will say, at least relatively, if not very famous restaurant in New York. And they're going to be doing their signature stromboli with smoked mozzarella and sopressata, I believe it's pronounced. There's a vegetarian option available, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at that cafe. And then if you're not able to do that, but want to go to Scarpetta's restaurant, you can get that for $8 as a Bilt Rewards member for the month of October. So even if you can't get there and you want to try it, that may be a place to look at. Now, while the dining has really kind of tightened up on their cities, the comedy has really expanded. 19 venues in 15 cities this month, with the cost of $30 to $40 or 2,000 points to 2,500 points. What I find interesting, and I just noticed this month, maybe you all have learned this quicker, is when I used to talk about these, I said that they had the light bites and the 2 drinks as just part of the one set fee. But now they created 2 tiers. So $30 to $40 to get in plus those points. Now they're charging $75 or 5,000 Bilt points to have that signature experience with a couple of drinks and light bites, which is unfortunate to kind of see. I've not gotten out to one of the comedy ones. I know some people have. I'm curious of your thoughts as far as this change going to a 2-tiered system for something that was only 1 tier before. So now let's move to the redemption bonuses that are part of Bilt this month. So Bilt to Amazon, you can get an up to 50% redemption bonus if you're platinum, 40% if you're gold, silver 30, blue 20. It does require you to link your Bilt account to Amazon. This only applies to ones to checkout being done on October 1st. It is not for the whole month. Also, while this is kind of the unfortunate things we see with these redemptions, some of these months, unfortunately, more so than we've seen before, is this is not a good redemption. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. You're basically talking about something that would normally be 0.7 cents per point. And even if you are getting this bumped up by 50% by being platinum, you're only talking about 1.05 cents per point, which is way under the value of what a Bilt point can be if you're especially transferring to transfer partners. But we do like variety, so I'll say that. But this is not something to necessarily use unless you just have to have something from Amazon. The next item is you want to make sure to check your email to see if you may be targeted for rent credit. If you're targeted, you can get up to 75% redemption bonus, once again with your Bilt points. You'll need to redeem the Bilt. Let me try to say that again. You will need to redeem the Bilt points now through October 1st for a future rent payment or authorizing your payment. Once again, that may sound pretty good, but we're still only talking about something that is normally a redemption rate of 0.55 cents per point to getting up to 0.96 cents per point. That's still woefully lower than what the Bilt point can at least do for you at the base level. Now, as far as Leslie Jones Live, this is really only for two performances she's doing. And you can purchase up to 4 tickets for her 2 shows, October 11th at the Plaza in Orlando, and then Kimba Live in Columbus, Ohio on November 14th. $50 tickets or 3,500 points. You do have to be 21 years or older to attend. So that is what we have for Bilt that we're going to be looking at. Now let's touch on Capital One and them bringing out 3 new travel partners all of a sudden. And it's all good because we always want more opportunities, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of what you can, of what this may or may not do for you if you have Capital One. So let's start with Qatar Airways. Qatar, sorry, keep screwing that up. Qatar Airways is going to be as new as a 1-to-1 ratio. The problem, if I'm going to call it a problem, is the fact that British Airways was already a partner. And so you could use those Avios through British Airways to transfer them to Qatar anyway. So it's not something that really moved the needle for that. And I also talked about the fact that the Avios program now has 1 landing spot so that it's very much easier to transfer points amongst all of the different entities that use Avios. So this didn't really do much. Now we've got I Prefer Hotel Rewards at a 1-to-2 ratio. Now, if you haven't heard of I Prefer, they are the world's largest independent network of hotels at over 600 of them across 80 countries, including the United States. And they include Beyond Green, preferred hotels and resorts, historic hotels of Americas, and historic hotels worldwide. This could be something to do something with an independent hotel, but it's okay. Now, Japan Airlines is really going to be something that a lot of people have paid attention to. We've got some good and some things you need to be aware of when it comes to Japan Airlines, though. So the Japan Airlines Mileage Bank, until Capital One did this, the only other credit card issuer that was a transfer partner is Bilt. But Bilt is on a 1-to-1 transfer with Japan Airlines Mileage Plan, while while Capital One is only going to be at 2 to 1.5, but but you're still having a better option of than not having it because not everybody deals with Bilt. If you are looking at Japan Airlines and if you have Capital One, they have a 30% transfer bonus right now. That transfer bonus gets that ratio almost to a 1-to-1 ratio at 1 to 0.975. So if you know you have some thoughts about doing something with Japan Airlines and you've got a stash of Capital One miles, this may be the right time to do it to make it closer to that 1-to-1 ratio we always want. Here's the things that I want you to keep in mind with Japan Airlines Mileage Bank. Number 1, they have a 36-month expiration date, and it is a hard stop. You cannot get that extended. You can't request for it to get extended, and it doesn't matter about your usage of that to get extended, where we sometimes will see that your points won't expire if you're utilizing them so many times per year. That does not apply to Japan Airlines Mileage Bank. Number 2 is that you cannot change award flights that you do through the mileage plan, but you can cancel them, but you're going to pay a fee. So don't lose money by making speculative unless you plan for having to cancel a flight. And once again, if you have to cancel a flight, then now you're at risk of, do you still have the same award availability? So make sure that you are really checking things twice to make sure if that's going to work for you. The next thing is when you're flying Japan Airlines with that, you are going to get some carrier imposed surcharges on that. And I'll touch on a couple of those in a moment. The plus that you will get from this is that you will get up to 360 days to book. A lot of times with airlines, we'll see 330 days. So you may be able to get that extra 30 days in with Japan Airlines at 360, which might get you a little bit more availability to award space. That is something that's definitely a plus when you're trying to plan things out. Now, what is some of this? What are a couple of the sweet spots for Japan Airlines? Well, you can fly economy class from the United States to Japan at 27,000 miles. It will cost you $213 and some odd cents. Now, that's one way. Business class, it can be as low as 55,000 points plus that same $213. Those are some ones that can really work well. Once again, though, any really good point redemption does require a little bit of hunting and some flexibility. So I don't want to sell fool's gold on this. One thing that I did find interesting, though, is that you can use those, get a really good deal on Japan Airlines flying Emirates business class, the A380 from JFK to Milan at only 60,000 miles. It does cost you $158 in the fees, but that 60,000 points is way lower than you can normally see if you were just doing Emirates' numbers. Then another one that I saw was LATAM, New York to Santiago, 60,000 points in business class plus $5.60. So it's all to say that there is some benefits to be able to get into the Japan Airlines mileage bank. Just definitely know all of that comes with it, though, because the devil is always going to be in the details. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. So that's what we have for them. So make sure if anybody has any questions, I want to apologize again for me being kind of in and out. I expect that this will get much more smoothed out on my schedule to get this to you. I really enjoy doing these and getting them out to you. And I'll be curious if you all think that I would normally do these. I was doing them on Thursdays, then I moved them to Fridays for my schedule. But let me know in the chat, in the comment section, if you think that doing these on the weekend is better for you all. I don't mind doing them on the weekends. And if you think that it might be beneficial and fits you all schedule, I don't mind doing something like at this time of the day or on Saturday. But let me know your thoughts, whether it's in the chat or the comment section. But if you all have, make sure to let me know any comments and all. And definitely make sure I'll get the links out probably within the hour to make these things easier for you to be able to look at, as well as make sure to check out, if you're looking at premium cards, make sure to check out that American Express Platinum one that I did. Really, I think that's going to give you a few bits of information you might not necessarily have seen from everybody else. So, and thanks so much, Timothy, as far as the information. Really enjoyed doing this live stream and have missed doing it for these last week or so. So if nobody else anything, definitely enjoy the day. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to see this, and I will talk with you all soon. Take care.